Ben 10 was hands down my favorite show as a kid, and it's still pretty high up there to this day. And if you ask anyone in the community who are the most used aliens, it's no secret that forums on Humongosaur are the top 2. But I've always wondered if the number of times an alien was used correlates to the amount of screen time they've had. There's been plenty of times where Ben transformed into an alien and then almost immediately transformed back, and the opposite. Some aliens have entire episodes dedicated to them. That is the question I'm trying to answer here with this series of videos, each one covering a total amount of times each alien was on screen for each season of Ben 10. This one covering the first 13 episodes. First, a few ground rules. I'm only keeping track if the aliens are on screen, so if they're off screen but we can hear their voice, doesn't count. Second, they must be in direct view, so I wouldn't count a faint outline in a fog. Third, I'm specifically keeping track of Ben's aliens, not just when Ben turns into said aliens. For example, in Season 2, Kevin gains the ability to turn into Ben's aliens. These aliens have the exact same designs as Ben's, only missing the Omnitrix. However, I will separate these examples into their own category, and I'm only counting it if it is clearly supposed to be Ben's aliens. So while Kevin's Diamond Head would count, Tetrax wouldn't. Lastly, I won't keep track of alien screen time mid-transformation, only after the transformation is done. The way I keep track of this during the transformation scenes each alien has is after the flash of white. I interpret this as the end of the transformation. For times when it's not so obvious, i.e. episode 13, I just need to use my best judgment. Now with that long-winded explanation out of the way, let's make a quick hypothesis. I think the top 3 aliens of OG Ben 10 will be Cannonbolt, Heat Blast, and then Forearms. The bottom 3 would probably be Frankenstrike, Snarrow, and a British guy. Okay, now let's get started. Also, if you just want to see where each alien places, skip to the time shown on the screen. Starting with the very first episode, and then there were 10, we see 4 aliens. First, we iconically get Heat Blast for 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Then we get Wild Mutt for 1 minute and 9 seconds. The GOAT, Diamond Head for 1 minute and 47 seconds. And lastly, fan favorite, Accelerate for an appropriately brief 10 seconds. I'll go ahead and clarify that I am counting the blurs that are meant to represent Accelerate while he's running. For episode 2, Washington, BC, we see our first repeat with Heat Blast again for 1 minute and 15 seconds. Gray Matter for 16 seconds, Forearms for 50 seconds, and Stinkfly for 1 minute and 27 seconds. Episode 3, the Krakken, Forearms starts with 57 seconds, Accelerate gives us 1 minute and 13 seconds. Side note, I believe this is the first time the Omnitrix gives Ben the wrong alien.
Hey, I said Ripjaws, not Accelerate.
Stinkfly for 51 seconds, and Ripjaws for 1 minute and 37 seconds. While I love Ripjaws, recording the time for this guy was a real pain. Mainly because there's a lot of electricity and flashing in this fight, and I had to edit all that out to get the correct time. I don't ever want to do that again, but I suspect I probably will in the future. Episode 9, Permanent Retirement. Upgrade for his first appearance is on screen for 21 seconds. And the last debut of a new alien in this season is Ghost Freak for 52 seconds. Then Wild Mutt for 1 minute and 26 seconds. And here we see Ultimate Alien Force Wild Mutt and Heat Blast for 1 minute and 5 seconds. Episode 5, one of the most important episodes in the entire franchise, Hunted. 35 seconds for Diamond Head. Ghost Freak for 1 minute and 52 seconds. The first double feature of the series, we see Diamond Head again for 1 minute and 55 seconds, and 46 seconds for Gray Matter. Episode 6 is Last Laugh, 53 seconds for Ripjaws, 43 seconds for Wild Mutt, 41 seconds for Upgrade, and 39 seconds for Ghost Freak. Episode 7, Kevin 11, 12 seconds for Ghost Freak, 17 seconds for Accelerate, 1 minute and 16 seconds for Stinkfly, 1 minute and 23 seconds for Heat Blast, and 1 minute and 13 seconds for Forearms. Episode 8, Tourist Trap. 1 minute and 1 second for Stinkfly, 54 seconds for Forearms, 1 minute and 9 seconds for Upgrade, and 1 minute and 24 seconds for Heat Blast. Episode 9, The Alliance. 52 seconds for Forearms, 1 minute and 7 seconds for Heat Blast, 53 seconds for Accelerate, and 1 minute and 32 seconds for Upgrade. Episode 10, Lucky Girl. 51 seconds for Accelerate, 31 seconds for Wild Mutt, and 1 minute and 21 seconds for Forearms. While I might be a bit of a Forearms hater, I must admit, bro has some of the coldest moments in the whole show. Episode 11, A Small Problem. I know most people don't really like this episode, but it's one of my personal favorites. This was the first episode to only feature one alien, Gray Matter. This was also the episode where I decided to count pictures of aliens. He was on screen for an eye-watering 7 minutes and 12 seconds. Episode 12, Side Effects. This is the episode where Ben gets sick, and that affects all of his aliens. A concept I'm legitimately surprised they never fully revisited. Regardless, 48 seconds for Upgrade, 43 seconds for Runny Nose Wild Mutt, 1 minute and 37 seconds for Stinky Forearms, and 1 minute and 26 seconds for this awesome version of Heat Blast. The season finale, Episode 13, Secrets. This episode was a true test of my patience. The average number of alien appearances to this point was about 4 aliens per episode. To my count, this episode had 31. So, let's make this quick. 23 seconds for Diamond Head, 30 seconds for Upgrade, less than a second for Stinkfly, 2 seconds for Forearms, 1 second for Accelerate, less than a second for Diamond Head, 1 minute and 46 seconds for Heat Blast, 48 seconds for Stinkfly. Here we see a vision of Vilgax's alien army. And while it's clear it's not Ben, these are still his aliens. So I will count them in the total, but I will separate it from Ben. I will elaborate at the end. In this vision, we get 5 seconds for Heat Blast, 8 seconds for Wild Mutt, 8 seconds for Diamond Head, 3 seconds for Accelerate, less than a second for Gray Matter, 6 seconds for Forearms, 10 seconds for Stinkfly, 2 seconds for Ripjaws, 3 seconds for Upgrade, and lastly 9 seconds for Ghost Freak. 3 quick things I never noticed about this scene. First, all the Wild Mutts don't have their badges / Omnitrixes. There's a group of Ripjaws swimming right here, and the Heat Blast that turns into a Forearms at the end actually turns into a Stinkfly for a brief moment. Moving on, less than a second for Accelerate, 1 second for Diamond Head, 4 seconds for Wild Mutt, 11 seconds for Forearms, 1 second for Ghost Freak, 3 seconds for Gray Matter, 26 seconds for Upgrade, 26 seconds for Ripjaws, 27 for Accelerate, 14 seconds for Diamond Head, 30 seconds for Ghost Freak, 13 seconds for Wild Mutt, and finally ending with 3 seconds for Heat Blast. And after all that time and tedious work, let's see where the aliens place at the end of Season 1. In 10th place with the least amount of screen time as well as appearances, we have Ripjaws. Ripjaws has 4 appearances and a total of 2 minutes and 59 seconds. In 9th place, we have Accelerate with 9 appearances and a total of 3 minutes and 56 seconds. 8th is Ghost Freak with 7 appearances and a total time of 4 minutes and 16 seconds. 7th is Wild Mutt with 8 appearances and a total time of 4 minutes and 58 seconds. 6th is Diamond Head with 8 appearances and a total time of 5 minutes and 4 seconds. 5th is Upgrade with 8 appearances and 5 minutes and 31 seconds. 4th is Stinkfly with 7 appearances and a total time of 5 minutes and 34 seconds. 3rd, to my surprise, is Forearms, who is tied for the highest amount of appearances with 10, and a total time of 8 minutes and 4 seconds. Even more surprising is Gray Matter at 2nd with 5 appearances and a total time of 8 minutes and 18 seconds. This is mostly carried by his 7 minutes and a small problem. If we took that out, that would place him dead last by over a minute. And in first place is, of course, Heat Blast with 10 appearances and a total time of 12 minutes and 7 seconds. That is a 4-minute difference between first and second place. With the exception of Gray Matter, I'm not really all that surprised with the placements, but I have no doubt that Forearms will quickly raise in the ranks by the end of OG Ben 10. Although we're already starting to see that just because an alien has a high number of appearances, doesn't mean the alien was actually on screen for all that long. We also saw 98.5% of the time if one of Ben's aliens was on screen, it was Ben himself. Mainly because there was only one exception to that. Although I suspect by Season 2, we're gonna see a huge shift in that number. This video has been in the works for far longer than I ever expected, but I believe that the next part shouldn't take nearly as long. Make sure to tell me your guys' predictions and let me know if there's anything I should do differently or anything I need to fix. And before I end this video, I just want to say, I really hope the comic that's coming up is really good. And as someone who doesn't play Fortnite, I hope the rumors that Ben is getting in there is true. I think that would be huge for his image. Unless it's Reboot Ben. I'll cry.